Okay, good. I think the New York Yankees are trying to kill us all. I'll tell you why. Next, on a live edition of Locked On Yankees.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. I've been hosting this show since July of 2018, which is a very long time for anyone to be hosting a show about the Yankees, especially in the Aaron Boone era, which I've been here the whole time. And I used to write for ESPN, Hardball Times, Fan Rag, and Beyond the Box Score for sports for SB Nation. So that was a fun time. I don't write anymore. I just do this. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. As you can see, I'm by myself, and Brian will be back for tomorrow's show. So on today's show, we'll preview the finale between the Yankees and the Twins. I'll tell you some news from around the league. We're going to discuss MLB scheduling because I have a rant coming up. But first, let's talk about the ways the New York Yankees are trying to kill us, shall we? So I didn't get to do the show last night, so we're going to talk about the game from last night. But let's all just commiserate here. We have some people in the chat. Hi, I see you. Feel free to ask me questions. I will try to answer them to the best of my ability while I try to navigate the show at the same time. It was a tale of two games, right? If you were watching, they looked great for the first 4 innings. Offense was on all cylinders. Cam Schlittler looked good. And then all of a sudden it started to fall apart. And it was just interesting to me how spectacularly they fell apart. So when they first started scoring, well, that's the thing. They first started scoring in the first inning, which was a complete role reversal from Monday night's game. And we talked about it on Tuesday's show. It was clear the team was tired from flying into Minnesota that morning and having to play a night game after playing an ESPN game. I will get to that in segment 2. Because on Tuesday night, they look like a completely different team, right? First inning, they score immediately. And in the first few innings, doubles, sac flies, guys are moving well on the bases. You know, Grisham hits his 31st home run. Volpe even looked better at the plate after a day off. Him and Wells hit back-to-back doubles, which helped with the scoring. And then things started falling apart just a little bit. Cam Schlittler, we'll go through the good and the bad. Only gave up 3 hits. That's good. 5 walks, not good. 6 strikeouts, good. Only lasting 4 2/3, not good. And giving up 4 runs, not good. So the game is 10-4. And it's early, and you're thinking, okay, this isn't the Tigers, it's the Twins. And no offense to the Twins, but after the trade deadline, they became a quadruple A team. They still have a few recognizable faces, but for the most part, I mean, they traded a bunch of their players away. So in my head, I thought, well, 10-4 is fine, you know, as long as you don't give them any hope of coming back in this game, because again, it's the Twins. They're the second worst team in the American League. Then Ryan Yarbrough comes in. Well, no, first Fernando Cruz, who only threw 4 pitches, and then you didn't see him again. Why is that? And I tried to parse an answer from Aaron Boone's post-game because I was watching it last night. And I still don't understand why he didn't have Cruz come back in for at least another full inning. But then I realized, because I'm trying to think like Aaron Boone here, the series against Baltimore is a 4-game series. They're going straight from Minnesota, another night game, tonight, Wednesday, and then going to Baltimore to play a 4-game series against Baltimore. So I can understand that he wanted to stay away from guys that he's going to use in high leverage situations. So I kind of understand, knowing that, why Cruz was only in for one batter. But then Yarbrough comes in and everything falls apart. Now, here's another thing I'll say. Ryan Yarbrough shouldn't get high leverage innings in the playoffs. If Ryan Yarbrough is in the playoffs, it's either because the other team is beaten up on the Yankees so bad, Boone just wants him in there as a long man, or the opposite, where the Yankees score a lot and they want to protect the bullpen arms. So I don't want you all to think that, oh, it's the bullpen, they're horrible, this and that, because really it was just Yarbrough, Mark Leiter Jr. a little bit. When he came in to relieve Yarbrough, he let that run in. But after that, he settled down. Devin Williams looked fine. Bednar gave up that home run in the bottom of the ninth. That was a meatball. It was a meatball. Bednar's been lights out for a while now. So I'm not going to worry about that. This isn't one of those games that's an indictment on the bullpen, right? Because as I just said, Ryan Yarbrough is not going to get big innings in the playoffs. He's not. So I want everyone to calm down. Now that I've had hours to sleep on it, I'm calm because watching the game was just so frustrating. You have a game where you're winning 10-1. 10-1. Schlittler loses his composure on the mound, which, yes, FJ. You don't see that often from Cam Schlittler. And I would much rather the Yankees have won 10-4 than 10-9. It did get scary there because if you watch the games against the Tigers, and again, I just said the Twins are not the Tigers, but the Yankees bullpen can look bad against anyone, some of the bullpen. So I was worried that the Twins were going to walk off, and they didn't, thank goodness. And when you look back at this game years from now, and you look at the Yankees' wins and losses in the year of 2025, you're not going to care that it was 10-9. You're just going to care that they had a certain amount of wins and they made it into the playoffs. So here are some stats for you. Aaron Judge got caught stealing at third. I was so angry when that happened because that's another thing about the Yankees that drives me. It just makes me crazy. And I speak about this all the time. If you're a regular, if you're an insider, if you're an everydayer and you listen to or watch the show every day, you know that I become apoplectic when this team fundamentally does something silly on the bases. And Judge did something silly. He got caught stealing at third. Now, here's a stat for you. The Yankees have been caught stealing at third 9 times this season. That's the second most in Major League Baseball behind the Rays. That's a stat I got from Katie Sharp. It's the Yankees' most in a season since 1999. Also 9. So they still have time to break that record and make it 10 or 11 or 12, depending on what they do on the bases. And then here's another interesting stat. Yankees wins in games allowing 9 or more runs, including the playoffs. In 2025, they have 3 wins out of 18 games where they've allowed 9 or more runs, which means they've lost a lot. Between 2018 and 2024, they have 3 wins in 93 games where they allowed the other team to score 9 or more runs. Yeah. Now, the Yankees have 2 all-time losses where they had a 9-run lead against a team and gave it up. One was 1912. They were winning 12-3 in the 6th inning and they lost. And then in 1931, they were winning 12-3 again, this time in the 8th inning, and they lost 14-12. So stranger things have happened. Thankfully, that didn't happen last night in Minnesota, and they ended up winning the game. But I just would like a relaxing game tonight, Luis Heel. I would just like you to pitch 6 innings, 6 strong innings. I would like the offense to do what they did in last night's game. Just score. Sac flies, doubles, home runs, singles. Stanton had that big single. That's all I want. I don't think that's asking for too much. right? Do you think it's asking for too much? Because I don't think it's asking for too much. All right, so don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notification so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. I see at least one insider in the chat right now. We have the link in the description for the Insiders Club. You get text from us. You can text us questions, comments, reactions to trades and signings. You also get top priority on FanMail Friday, which we do every week. We send out lineups during the season, roster moves, and any breaking news so you don't have to check social media. We have a new perk for insiders. We have a private Discord where you can commiserate during games. I actually didn't check the Discord last night, but I'm sure it was a lot of fun. There's a 14-day free trial. Okay, coming up next, I'm going to discuss the Yankees scheduling this past week because I'm a little angry about it, and you should be too. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. It really is the best way to stay locked in on the season, especially for football. You just put on Red Zone, watch all the games, and figure out what's happening that way. It's quick, it's easy, and the projections are just easy to pick. You can do Josh Allen for more or less than 270 passing yards, Saquon Barkley for more or less than 1 rushing touchdown. Anything. It's easy peasy. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. So I mentioned FanMail Friday. And for our YouTube viewers who are not insiders, this is the way that you get to participate in FanMail Friday. You go to our channel's page, you click on posts, you will see the latest post where I leave the message, leave your FanMail Friday question here. And the deadline is Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And just remember, that post is just for FanMail Friday, no comments. Leave comments underneath the videos. And another quick note, we are getting closer and closer to 10,000 subscribers. So thank you all very much for watching us. We really appreciate it. I never thought that we would ever get anywhere near that number. So it's very exciting that we're inching closer and closer to it. All right, so here's my rant about the scheduling. And I'm going to sound like a brat. I know I am, but I'm a Yankee fan through and through. And even though I host this podcast and I try to be level-headed, this really annoyed me. Okay, so as you know, Yankees went to Boston to play 3 games, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday night was ESPN, so games started later than a normal Sunday game. And then they had to fly to Minnesota to play a game on Monday, no off day. Please explain to me how the Red Sox had a day off on Thursday. Well, I kind of know. They were traveling back to go home, so that makes sense. Fine. I'll give them that. But then had a day off on Monday because the Athletics were coming in town. So they had Thursday and Monday off where the Yankees did not. They had to just keep traveling and go places. No wonder they looked lethargic on Monday night. They didn't look right at all. There was no reason why a person, no offense to Simeon, I apologize to you, Simeon, but there's no reason why the Yankees were looking so bad against a pitcher who had an ERA above 4.50, other than them getting into Minnesota late and not getting enough sleep and being exhausted. And it might explain why Luke Weaver didn't look so great either on Monday, because he had been looking good, and I kind of jinxed him too. When we did our Monday show Sunday night, I talked about how good Luke Weaver was looking in Boston, and then he kind of blew up on Monday night in Minnesota. But it stands to reason that the reason why was because they flew into Minnesota early in the morning on Monday and had to play a game. Now they play the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday games against Minnesota. But what time is tonight's game? It's another night game. And guess what the Yankees have to do this time? They have to fly to Baltimore to play a game on Thursday because it's a 4-game series. Who is scheduling this? What happened to the nice old couple that used to do MLB scheduling? Because sure, there were some times when the Yankees got screwed by the scheduling, but it feels like it's happening a lot more. And it feels like it's happened a few times this season where they should have had an off day and didn't, and then had an off day and shouldn't have. I don't remember off days being in the middle of homestands. I remember long homestands for the Yankees, no matter what the teams were doing coming back from other places or arriving in New York. I actually took a staycation in 2006 because the Yankees were playing a really long homestand, and I bought tickets to like 4 games, and I already had my Sunday tickets bookending that week. There were no off days. It was just straight through. I will say I did enjoy the fact that the Red Sox had Monday off, and then they still lost to the Athletics last night, 2-1. So thank you, whoever controls the universe, for that. So at least that helped the Yankees out because the Yankees won and the Red Sox lost. And that puts a little more distance between them. But does anyone else find this annoying? That, like, it can't just be me. It can't just be me that this is annoying. I know Michael K ranted about it as well because we mentioned it on yesterday's show, right? Because we talked about how bad the Yankees looked in the first game, and we said that it was the scheduling. And we wanted to point out that, no, we're not coddling these guys. We're not babying them, but they're human. I know how exhausted I am when I fly, and I'm not playing a baseball game the next day. So I don't know who does this, but they need to figure things out because it's not fair at all. Unbelievable. So we're going to go into the preview for tonight's game in the next segment. But if you have any questions for me right now while I'm sitting here during segment 2, let me know. And if it's a question that you don't want to save for Fan Mail Friday, please feel free. I'm looking at the chat right now. But yeah, that just really annoyed me because you saw it in the way they played. They look like 2 completely different teams between Monday and Tuesday. They look like zombies on Monday. And I'm not going to chalk it up to, oh, it's the Yankees. This is how they play. No, not against the Twins. Not against a quadruple A team. No. I didn't think it was a situation where they played down to their opponent because we've seen them do that. And even Jazz has mentioned that when he talks about the Yankees being the best team in the league. Okay. When he mentions that and he says that they've been playing down to their opponents, why? You should be beating up on the bad opponents, not playing down to them. I know it's a 162 game season, but the best team in baseball doesn't do what these guys did in June and July. The best team in baseball doesn't make boneheaded plays night after night on the base paths, defensively. That's not the best team in baseball. And I got into an argument about this on Reddit with someone. And they didn't like that I was making fun of Jazz saying that they were the best team in baseball. And the person said, you know, if they win the World Series, they're the best team in baseball. No, they're not. That just means they were best at baseball during those few weeks in October. That doesn't mean they were the best team in baseball. How many wildcard teams have we seen play in the World Series and win it? They weren't the best team in baseball. They were the best team in October. There's a difference. Would I like for the Yankees to be the best team in October? Of course. Of course I would. But you can't go around saying you're the best team in baseball when you're doing what you're doing in games, looking like the bad news Bears for 2 months. You just can't. Hey, Stacey from J Apollo. Is there any scenario in the playoffs where the Yankees lose that would get Boone fired? For example, a 3-0 blown. Please let's not put that out into the universe. Please. I don't want that again. I experienced it once in my life. Don't want to experience that again. But I honestly think that there's no way. I've joked about it on the show. Anything short of murder, meaning anything short of Aaron Boone murdering someone, he will not get fired. The Yankees love him, meaning the front office loves him. The players love him too. He's coddling them. Of course, they love him. Let's see. Maraful Hossein. I probably butchered that. I'm so sorry. Would you prefer the Yankees face the Red Sox or the Astros in the wild card? Neither. I think the Astros, because Jordan Alvarez is hurt. He's not going to be back. I think they might do better against the Astros. The Astros aren't the Astros of the last few years. I think the Yankees can finally beat them in the playoffs. People are going to come back to this. People are going to come back to this if the Yankees lose to them and say, you were wrong. I'm just saying, I think they can beat the Astros this year. And you know what? I was right about the Yankees beating the Angels in 2009, so don't doubt me. Oh, I did. Okay, good. I got his name. Yay. Okay, so coming up, we're going to preview the finale with the Twins tonight in Minnesota, and I'm going to tell you some news from around the league next. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I don't know about you, but it's tough keeping up with different subscriptions. I have so many of them, and I've forgotten about some of them, but Monarch helps me remember. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. And today's episode is also brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live, the energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person. But actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. Honestly, it takes the fun out of it. So that's why I use Gametime. The app gives you the advantage, or gives us the advantage. It gives it back to the fans. Gametime is fast, it's easy, and it's backed by the Gametime guarantee. You always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. And one of the best parts, fees are included. So you know your total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way that I've bought tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. And not only do we cover your team every day, but now we're giving you instant episodes after every single game. Check out the Locked On Yankees postcast hosted by Jay Berman right here on the Locked On Yankees podcast feed, as well as streaming on our YouTube channel. Get rapid reaction to all the biggest moments with the Locked On Yankees postcast. And one word about that. Last year, if you watched us, you know that we did live streams after playoff games, and we're going to do that again. What we're probably going to do is Jay Berman will do the postcast immediately after the game, and then Brian and I will come on after Jay. Jay will give you all the numbers and just let you know what happened in the game with no commentary, really. And then Brian and I will give you our thoughts and everything that happened during the game, like what our feelings were. And it should be a good time. Who knows how long we'll be doing that? Who knows how long the Yankees will be playing in the playoffs? But hopefully it'll be well into October. We will see. So I just wanted to give you that programming note so you know what our plan is for the playoffs. All right, so Wednesday night, Taj Bradley, 6-7, 4.88 ERA against Luis Gil, 4-1 with a 2.83 ERA. Gil has been looking a lot better lately, and I really think that was it last week when I mentioned that I thought Cam Schlittler had a good chance of possibly usurping Gil in the third spot in the rotation. And now I think Gil is earning it back. Gil has the experience, and I think he's finally recovered from his injury, and he's looking more like the Luis Gil of 2024. So I think I'm more comfortable with Luis Gil as the game 3 starter just for now. Does Cam Schlittler have a role on this team in the playoffs? Certainly does. I think he has a bigger role or a chance for a bigger role in the playoffs on the roster as a pitcher than Will Warren does. So we'll see. But yes, finale against the Twins Wednesday night tonight, 7:40. Because why would they give them a day game when they have a travel? They have to travel to Baltimore to play the Orioles for 4 games. Anyway, here's some news from around the league. Shohei Ohtani. He's really unbelievable, right? And as Yankee fans, we find him annoying because he didn't pick the Yankees, but he didn't pick any East Coast teams. He wanted to stay on the West Coast, so he picked the Angels first. Then he went to the Dodgers. It's fine. We had no shot of getting him. I say we collectively as fans, we had no shot of having him on our team. That's what I mean. He became the first Major League Baseball player to have 50 home runs as a hitter and 50 Ks as a pitcher on Tuesday night. He also threw 5 no-hit innings against the Phillies, but the Phillies lost. Dodgers lost anyway. The Phillies were able to come back and win that game. But yeah, Ohtani's unbelievable. He really is unbelievable. Cal Raleigh hit number 55 and 56 against the Royals because people just don't stop throwing him meatballs, which is really irritating. But his 56th home run ties Ken Griffey Jr. for the Mariners club record, 56 in a season. So he will probably pass that. I guess good for him. Looks like Bo Bichette will be out until the playoffs, but that's not slowing down the Blue Jays at all. They beat the Rays again. The Rays made it interesting. I think they may have had the tying run on base. Not on base, sorry. At bat? Up to bat? Up to bat. In the 9th, I think, against Hoffman. And the Jays were able to get out of it. So, womp womp. Blue Jays won again. At least the Yankees stayed even with them, but the Yankees have no shot at the division. The Blue Jays aren't slowing down. And even if the Yankees win out the rest of the season, the Blue Jays are going to keep going. And if they finish tied, the Blue Jays win because they win the tiebreaker because they kicked the Yankees' butts all over the place this season. So now there was a funny stat that I saw on social media last night about Mike Trout. Poor Mike Trout. He appeared in 1 playoff series. He had 1 hit. And he's never been back to the playoffs. That was more than 10 years ago. That was 2014. The Angels got swept in that series, right? Against the Royals, if I recall correctly. But I think the stat was Mike Trout is 1 for 15 with 1 home run in the playoffs. And Joe Blanton is 1 for 15 with 1 home run in the playoffs. Poor Mike Trout. And I know as a Yankee fan, I shouldn't feel bad for Mike Trout. And we shouldn't feel bad for Mike Trout with all the money that he got in that extension that he signed. He chose to stay with the Angels. After seeing what that franchise has done for years, he chose to stay with them thinking that they would improve, and they just didn't. So that's his fault. Let's see. Mark Carpentieri. Hello there, regular Fan Mail Friday question asker. He says, I know we need to move on from Soto, but do you think he regrets signing with the Mets since the Yankees have a better record than the Mets have? No, he's getting money. I think maybe at the beginning of the year he was feeling a little regretful, but I think he's fine. He's fine. He's getting so much money that he's not going to care. And I think he has opt-outs, right? So he can leave whenever he wants to. And the Mets are picking things up. You know, they beat up on the was it the Padres last night? Is that who they're playing? I don't really pay attention to the Mets. I'm sorry. I don't. But I think it was the Padres. I think it may have been Michael King. Poor Michael King. But yeah, no, they've actually been doing better. So I think Soto doesn't mind. And Soto's up to 40 home runs, right? I think. Oh. Jay Apollo says that Trey Savage went to his college, the one that he's in now. He was disgusting. It was a pleasure to see him in the big leagues after watching him in college. That's got to be really cool. That's got to be cool. I went to school with someone who made the majors, high school, and I got to see him play against the Mets. And that was really cool. He didn't really amount to, he finished with like an ERA over 4, but he had a pretty long career And he did make Sports Center one time when he was with the Braves. And when I say make Sports Center, do you remember in the late 90s, early 2000s on Sports Center? Because I don't know if they do the same thing. I haven't watched Sports Center in years, where you have the score, like the box score, and then you have like the winner and the loser. And then they had a few guys that they highlighted at the bottom, like, someone who was 2 for 4 with 2 home runs or whatever. My friend, who was a pitcher, and this was back when the NL still allowed the pitchers to bat, he was like 2 for 3 with like a double. So they put him in that slot. And it was just so exciting for me to see that, because I was like, oh my God, Will got, the Braves won. He was with the Braves at the time, and he was like 2 for 3 with a double, if I recall correctly. I'll have to look it up on Baseball Reference, but it was, it's exciting when you see someone that you went to school with, even if it's someone that you only just went to school with in college and you saw them in college, that's pretty cool. But for me, I knew him from elementary school. We didn't go to the same elementary school, but we had mutual friends, and he played Little League. My dad coached Little League. I helped my dad with the scoring in Little League. So I knew all those guys. And it was just really exciting to see someone from our little hamlet in Rockland County make it to the big leagues. So I understand that feeling very well. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, until a World Series champion is crowned. You get local analysis on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you watch the Sunday night version, you will see my co-host Brian host that edition of MLB Game Night, which is very exciting. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias, and Brian and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you all for joining me.